how many years in this kitchen? My cooking is still shite. What happened there, then?
Found it on the street. Wanted to save it.
Well, there's your problem. Your roots have been...
Is it a ring?
Dani, why is there...
Here's the thing. You're my best friend. And I love my life. And I don't know how much time we have left. But however much it is, I want to spend it with you. And I know we can't technically get married, but I also don't really care. That's enough for me. If it's enough for you.
I reckon that's enough for me.
Oh. The bus replaced.
This is the best news. I'm so happy for you both.
Jesus!
Cheers, mate.
Thank you.
Oh,
This
God.
place is so beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm happy with it.
And no one's lodged any complaints about the name.
I'll never forget how badly it annoyed her until she finally had to laugh, and nothing was better than that woman's laugh.
We haven't spoken to the kids in ages, though.
Oh, fuck off.
They are... You all right?
Yeah, I'm good.
I try to go when I can. They all came here a few months back, on holiday. Henry, Miles, Flora, Flora's boyfriend.
Flora's got a boyfriend. She's 12.
She's 17.
What?
So they're all happy?
Yeah. It's interesting, though, the way they talk about Bly. They don't remember anything about it.
What?
Just the kids. Henry still remembers all of it. But I mentioned Hannah, and Flora asked me who I was talking about. It's been this way a while, turns out.
So, well, if they don't remember Hannah, they don't remember.
The fear of it all, that we were so afraid would infect the rest of their lives, has just faded away. I mean, by the signs of it, they're thriving. I'd say, just let them be. Let them live their lives the way they should, without anything hanging over them. They deserve that. We all do.
Oh, fuck off!
Jesus! What's going on? Are you okay?
She's coming. You've got to tell her.
What happened? We're gonna be okay. You can't think the worst, all right? We don't know what this means. We could have so many more years together. It's gonna be okay. It's okay. It's gonna be okay. Our union is officially civil. I'll marry her again when we can.
Come on.
Dani?
I'm sorry, all the water, I didn't realize.
It's okay. What was easy to clean up?
It's like every day I feel myself fading away, but I'm still here. And I don't
You're
understand
still
how that is.
here.
It's like I don't feel it all the way. I'm not even scared of her anymore. I just stare at her and it's getting harder and harder to see me. Maybe I should just accept that. Maybe I should just accept that and go.
No.
Just let go, for fuck's sake. I ain't up.
Not yet. But no one is going anywhere. Okay? You're still here.
She sleeps, she wakes, she walks. Shit! The fuck? No.
The au pair knew the moment had come. The beast had lurked indeed, and the beast, at its hour, had sprung. And so the gardener found herself back at Bly Manor one last time.
No!
The gardener said the words she'd heard those years ago. She willed it with everything she had. Me. Us. Us. Take me with you, she cried in her heart. Take me. Drag me down like you did the others. But the lady in the lake was different now. The lady in the lake was also Dani. And Dani wouldn't. Dani would never. In fact, no one would ever be taken again. And no one has been taken to this day.
Pause. Pause. Play.
For the rest of her days, the gardener would gaze into reflections, hoping to see her face, her own lady in the lake.
I knew it.
Should she ever come back?
Willow Whaley.
Waiting for her lover to return. Years would go by, and as she slept underneath the water, the au pair's memories would fade, like Viola before her. Like the children, she too would forget her past, leaving the only trace of who she once was in the memory of the woman who loved her most.
If I were to fly to England, and I were to visit Bly Manor,
I expect if you were to fly to England, you would find no such place by that name. If you were to find the manor, though...
Christ, is that the time?
Is that Owen?
Ah, yes! Big day tomorrow. Let's get some rest.
I think I'll stay here a moment. I liked your story.
I'm glad.
But I think you set it up wrong just in the beginning.
Is that so?
Yeah. You said it was a ghost story. It isn't.
No?
It's a love story.
Same thing, really. Well, if you go on to retell it, make that change up top for me.
I love him. More than I ever thought I could love anybody. And the crazy thing is, he loves me the same exact amount. Sometimes when I'm sitting next to him in that easy silence, you only get with your forever person who loves you as much as you love them. I start getting really, really terrified that he's gonna before I do, and then what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to just live a life that he's not in?
Will be hard every day and it won't get easier. But eventually, after some time, you'll find little moments, little pieces of your life that remind you of him. It'll be like he's here with you, even though he's gone.
I feel like I should hug you.
It's all right.
It's a ring.
I thought you might be making it up just off that name.
That name?
My middle name is Flora.
Is that right?
Oh. Well, I just had to take a break because there is absolutely no way on earth that I could have done a review of that episode. After that, I was basically fucking dehydrated. I don't think I've ever cried for so much of a reaction in the history of my reactions. And I'm a crier, so that's quite an achievement. I think just everything got me. Absolutely everything got me. But the realisation that it was Flora's wedding and Jamie was telling her this story that obviously didn't take place at Bly Manor. She's changed all the names. She's changed the... she's basically... So Flora's the bride's middle name. She's not actually called Flora. She's called something else. So Jamie told her a slightly fictionalized version of the story, just changing the details that meant that she couldn't actually go and find the place, which is what she said to the woman. But, you know, we saw Flora, we saw Miles, we saw Henry, you know, which was all the more poignant given that you talk about an Easter egg, but if you remember when Dominic was ranting at Henry and saying, you know, when she's, you know, getting married, I'll be the one, I'll be the one that she asked to walk down the aisle, and ultimately it was Henry that did that. But we'll come back to that in a bit. I just wanted to get that out. But if we go back to the beginning and just kind of have a look at where everything lay. I think firstly, I'd start with Hannah, because we found out why it was that moment, that interaction with Owen that she kept returning to. And it was because she loved him and she began to fall in love with him that day. You know, this is an interesting kind of guy, you know, and she hadn't felt that in a really long time. And even though she was talking to herself, you know, we got her, she was talking to Owen, but it was actually herself, essentially. This was a way of her conducting a conversation with herself. And, you know, the two most important things were that, you know, she wished she had told him that she loved him. And she was willing to let go in order to be able to protect him, really, in the real world. And that was... yeah, so we see her go off. Jamie and Owen arrive, and they're like, you know, what the fuck is going on? We've had a terrible dream. We need to get straight here. And Hannah basically manages to tell them where to go, but then he vanishes. Then Henry arrives, but Henry, you know, sorry, that happened before, but Henry's arrived and been basically so battered by the Viola that he's basically in limbo between life and death. Hannah pops up in a little bit, and that moment where she says to Henry, and we'll come to why she's talking to Henry in a bit, but she says to Henry, you know, when they find me in the well, and I just fucking lost it at that point, absolutely lost it, just thinking, oh God, this is it, and that was it, you know, she was essentially gone because of other things that were happening. And then, so that's sort of Hannah's story, really. And at that point, you feel like her spirit is released, and we'll get to why it was released in a minute. But I just hope, you know, she's there waiting for Owen when he dies, frankly. And they spend eternity in each other's arms, because it was just a really lovely, it was like a love story that never happened, because essentially they were friends, but they were so much more than that. And although they actually in life never got to be together, you feel like it's almost irrelevant because their love was so deep. It didn't make it any less real that they didn't have the opportunity to share that information with each other while they were both alive. So stunning. And at this point, I think I need to say, this is a love story. This is a story about love. Absolutely. And I keep going back to Dani and Jamie's conversation, and I think episode 3, when they're talking about mistaken love and possession. This whole episode was about that. It was, how do you love someone knowing that it's temporary? Like, and I'm going to hit on themes as I go through the characters, but I'm going to save my kind of thematic review for once we've just dealt with the characters. So that's Hannah and Owen. Then we've got Flora and Miles, who really come through this okay. Because of the stuff that happens with Viola and Dani, Peter Quinn is out of Miles, off he pops, gone forever, and Miles and Flora get to be with Henry, who is now full in. Henry is in. He is going to bring these 2 kids up, and he is going to be truthful with them about the stories he has about his, about his brother and his sister-in-law, their parents. So I feel like he did tell them ultimately that Flora, was his daughter. I feel like all of that stuff was addressed, and I love that. And the best bit is the kids did not remember the stuff that happened at Bly. They were untouched, undamaged by all of that horror and pain and loss and fucking manipulation. None of it ever touched them. And that's fantastic. So they grow up, and obviously we know Flora is, finds her forever person, and they look to really love each other. And I'll stop there because I think I want to talk a little bit more about that scene once we've completed the Dani and Jamie bit. Because then, of course, we have Dani and Jamie, which for me is like the central love story of this show. But this is a story full of love stories, and each of them is poignant and painful. And some of them are just beautiful. Owen and Hannah and Dani and Jamie, I think, are examples, and actually Flora and whoever she's marrying are examples of healthy love. Even though Owen and Hannah never got to express it, Hannah didn't try and tie Owen to her, and she could have stayed in her dream and been tucked away and all that jazz, and she didn't. She sacrificed for him because what was important to her was his happiness, and that was great. And we see the same with Dani and Jamie. First of all, that Dani essentially sacrifices herself by taking Viola Lloyd into her own body to prevent the death of Flora. Flora would be dead and gone, and everyone else would still be stuck at Bly Manor without Dani. And there are those sort of echoes of Nell and Nell's sacrifice and the bent neck lady here, because in this case, Dani does become the Lady of the Lake, but it takes some time. First of all, the first thing that happens when she takes Viola into her is that all the ghosts are released. Everyone who has been stuck to that fucking manor all this time, living this purgatory, is now free. So that was fantastic. That had me bawling. I really felt for them all. They did nothing wrong, those people. They just wrong place, wrong time. So they're out of it. fantastic, but that also means gone by Peter, by Rebecca, by Hat, they're all gone. So that ended quite sharply for me. I was quite surprised. I thought we'd see more of Rebecca, Peter, Quint. But that was that. And then the family decide to leave. They go to America. Dani and Jamie are going to go to America as well. And we see that, you know, Dani saying to Jamie from the jump, I know how this ends. I know she's there, she's in me, I can feel her, she's quiet, but she's not peaceful. She's full of rage, and one day, you know, she's going to take me. And you knew. Like, I thought she wasn't going to be Dani immediately, so I was losing my shit for that whole scene, because I thought Jamie was going to be like kissing her and like, oh my god, you're alive, and then it'd be like, but no, it takes time. Basically, I don't like Viola. I gotta say this. I don't like this character. I don't mean like I don't like the character as a creation. I think she's a brilliant creation. I mean, personally, I do not like her as a person. You know, she is about possessing things. You know, she's all possessive about her husband, possessive about her daughter, possessive about her fucking dresses, possessive about the manor and staying on the fucking plot. Everything with her was like, can't let go, and she just dominates everything. And here she is again, you know, dominating fucking, you know, Dani. But what we see is this incredible conversation with Dani and Jamie, where Dani's basically like, you know, I don't want to make any plans, la 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 la. And firstly, Jamie, without she did not pause, she did not blink. When Dani told her what the deal was, I know I got. I have got this ghost inside of me. She's going to take me at some point. I'm on borrowed time. Jamie did not even blink. She just said, do you want someone along for the ride, basically? Do you want company? Which, I am not going to cry in the fucking review. I am not. Just to love someone like that. I have that. I know what that is, and it's fucking incredible. And you can't imagine being able to breathe without that person. Like, really. Because they're your person. And they don't complete you. They're not the other half of you. They don't make you happy. You know, it's about, they're them, you are you, and you love each other completely, and you're gonna come along for the ride. Like, you're gonna go on this journey with them, and the journey is the rest of your life. And I just love that. I love the way they created that in the show, because it is the most incredible gift, and also the most terrifying thing in the world. Because effectively your fates become tied to some degree, because if this person dies, you know, this journey you've shared together stops. And when you know what healthy, deep, committed love is, you know what it means to even think about that. And I don't know anyone in a relationship that is really valuable to them, that is essential to them, is, you know, they're genuinely really happy in, that doesn't have these conversations with their partner. You know, I've had it with my wife. You know, we've kind of been like, you know, genetics wise, it's more than likely she would outlive me, just based on, you know, when people in our families have died. And you're kind of like, you know, a part of you is like, I kind of want to die first, because I don't want to, you know, have to be the one that goes through all that. But then there's immediately, you're going, I will, you know, I want to take that on, because the only thing worse than having to get over, you know, grieve the death of this person that I love is the thought as I'm dying that they're going to be on their own. Oh, God. It's too much. It's too much. So I love that we got to see that was who Jamie is. And so as courageous and committed and selfless as Dani is, ditto Jamie. They are just absolute equals in this relationship. No one's carrying anyone. And they think they've got days. At this point, they think they can't even plan Christmas. But days turn into weeks, weeks turn into months, months turn into years. They get some proper time with each other. They get a civil partnership. They get a flower shop. They run a florist together. They have all kinds of adventures, and their love deepens almost to the point where we think maybe it's a happy ending. And I was holding on for that, but like 90% of me was like, stop it now, sweet summer child. You are not going to get your way with this. And then we see the reflection, almost echoing Edmund, but you know, this wasn't guilt. This was flat out, this bitch is back. So Viola ultimately does come back, and she looks to be like about to kill Jamie, because it's sort of taking over Dani. Dani wakes up a bit like Liv in season 1 with the screwdriver on Hugh, and she just wakes up and she's like, I have literally got my hands around her throat, and you know, who knows what's going to happen next time. And so she leaves. She knows what she's becoming. She knows she's going to lose the fight, and she's already beginning to, and she's unwilling to put Jamie at risk. So she leaves. Jamie goes back to Bly Manor because she's like, I'm going to get her. And she sees her, she's Lady Lake, and she's basically going, fuck this shit, I'm going to do it. I'm going to release her. So everyone's trying to save everybody. But the new lady in the lake is different. She is not one for hurting anyone, for tying anyone else to Bly Manor, and she's sure as shit not going to let Jamie sacrifice herself for her. And compare that to Peter Quint, right? Peter Quint literally killed Rebecca, manipulated her into giving him the opportunity to kill her just so he wouldn't be alone. Like, she was a possession. She was not a person, a three-dimensional, living, breathing human that had her own thoughts and feelings that he was interested in independently of his own self-interest. And you got to see the complete juxtaposition here, where Jamie is literally like, you, me, us, bitch, you know, just for God's sake, let me do this for you. I can't bear the idea of you being in this league. And no, you go live your life. And I'm convinced we'll get to that in the end. So that's them, and then pretty much from here we go, and now we're with older Jamie at the wedding, finishing off this story, and everyone is fucking spellbound. You know, is it true? Where's Bly? If I go to England, would I be able to go to Bly Manor? And we sort of get these little subtle hints thrown out at that point that she has fiction. You know, she's fiddled with little elements of the stories, names of places and people, so that she's effectively anonymised the story. She's not going to get anyone in any trouble, and yeah, so that's what she does. And we then realise, you know, she exchanges this look, and you suddenly realise, shit, that's Owen. And I know why they obviously couldn't use the same character for him either, but I mean, he doesn't really look much older than Owen, to be honest, but let that go. We then get that knowing look, and we understand, and that's where I started to be like, oh shit. And the bride's like hangs out with Jamie for a bit afterwards, because she says, just can I speak to you about something? And then we get the, you know, the almost the bookend to the conversation that Jamie and Dani had in episode 3 about love and possession, because you have then Flora as a grown-up who's saying that, you know, I love him so much and he loves me completely, and, you know, I can't imagine life without him, but that means that I am absolutely terrified of the moment that I'm going to lose him. And that's sort of the heart of this, is that if you genuinely love somebody, you deal with that terror. Like, you own it. You never take an action in his name. You just be with it. I'm fucking terrified that this person I love is going to die, and I'm going to be facing the consequences. But you never act on the terror, because acting on that terror is self-interest over love. It's possession over love. And that's effectively what Jamie is trying to tell Flora in that moment. It's okay to feel it. Feeling it is entirely natural. When you love someone this much and they love you this much, and you have found your forever person, it comes with the terror. You know, I'm sure parents say the same. You know, you have this incredible love for your children, but it comes with a fucking massive terror attached. And so, but, you know, she counsels her really well, you know, to say, you just be in it. You know, be in it, enjoy these moments, be present for it as it's happening. You know, these are all these individual moments. You know, and when they're gone, it will really hurt. You know, but there will be parts of your life that remind you of them, and, you know, some will bring you joy and some will make you cry for several hours. So I love that. She didn't sugarcoat it. It wasn't like, oh, you know, you'll be fine if they get... It's like, no, you can be permanently devastated by, you know, losing the love of your life. That's the thing that can happen. But there is also the potential for joy. And that was just stunning to me. I loved it. Crikey, what else? We also had... and, you know, as they're parting, she says, oh, the debate is then for Flora, like, whether that story was real or not. And she says, oh, I guessed it wouldn't have been real from the way you started it, which was, you know, and her middle name is Flora. And that's the point where the penny drops and you're like, holy fucking shit, we're at Flora's wedding. We already know Flora, you know, doesn't have any memory of this, and Jamie is telling her this story. Even with all the story, Flora is still none the wiser. She doesn't even register Jamie, she, you know, and she doesn't recognise this story as her own. Fan-fucking-tastic. And then we kind of get some explanation as to why, and then obviously we have the wedding itself, and we see Jamie, although she's standing on her own, she's getting to see, you know, all of this wonderful stuff. She knows Flora's happy, she knows Henry's happy, you know, Owen's hanging over there having a chat with grown-up Miles. Everything is right, you know, everything is right, except she's alone, you know, Dani isn't there. And it really, God, if you've ever, like, in your family, you know, if you've ever known someone who's And the older you get, you know, the more likely this is to happen. But when you know someone whose partner's died, and you find yourself in a situation where maybe like it's a family party, like a wedding, an event, or if it's a friendship group and you're all together again, but that person isn't, you realise how alone, like the aloneness of the person that remains is sort of amplified, because you realise that there were these, almost like each of you was a piece of this jigsaw and this piece is missing, and so you really notice the one that was next to it, you know, the pair. And I've seen that look on Jamie's face as she's looking around that wedding. Like, I've seen that face, you know, in people in my own life. I've seen that face. I've seen that solitary separateness of someone still in grief. They might not be there forever, but, you know, I've seen people in that space. And it was so faithfully told. I think that's why I just couldn't stop crying for this whole thing, because it's such a tribute to love, ultimately. And then we get a little bit of explanation when Jamie goes back to her room for why the door was open and the bath was run in the beginning, because essentially she's still looking out, you know, for Dani, still hoping that she's going to show up. So she just sits there every night in the chair, you know, and we see that there is a hand on Jamie's shoulder, and I just know it's Dani. And I don't think Dani has ever left her. I think Dani is there all the time. But just like she sacrificed, I don't think she will ever show herself to Jamie, incidentally, because I don't think she wants to tie Jamie to her. You know, it's one thing if Jamie chooses of her own volition to not move forward, you know, to say that is the love of my life and I will not be having any future relationships and I will keep looking for her until I die. That's Jamie's choice. But Dani isn't going to force that on her. So I think she is just there, waiting, you know, and I believe they're going to be reunited at the end too. Same as Owen and Hannah. So just that, it's just great. I mean, this was a great story that ultimately was a love story. It was a story about love. It wasn't just a love story between Jamie and Dani. It was a love story in the sense that it was a story about love, about lots of different kinds of love, about the sorts of feelings that people mistake for love, but also how to be authentically in love and cope. like how do you hold your shit together when you have this, you discover this bond with another person, and make sure that you remain a person too, and that you let them remain a person. You don't seek to consume each other or possess each other simply to share each other's journey, and support each other and nurture each other and, you know, go to bat for each other. It's just it's so beautiful. And from episode 1 to here, I did not figure this was the way this was going to go. I came out of episode 1 and I really thought, okay, they're doing a straight up horror. This obviously, I was like, that can't be the case, because I don't think that's what these kind of, you know, that's not what these writers are up to. But I didn't plug the mic back in, did I? Shit. Okay, we'll have to figure that out. But yeah, Carrie Ann. Just wind it up and hopefully it will work. It's registering somewhere. Yeah, I loved it. I loved every second of it. I appreciated everything that they set out to do in this series, and I think they achieved it. I did not expect to fall in love with these characters in episode 1. Everyone and everything creeped me out pretty much. But then almost immediately from episode 2 on, it was different. And I like that they kind of did that to me, actually. It was really brave, that first episode. Very, very brave. And I'm just so appreciative to have gone on this journey again. I mean, they've already given us Hill House. Now they've given us this. Fuck's sake. Absolutely amazing. So, I hope you've enjoyed this review. I hope you enjoyed the series along with me. As I say, join us over on Patreon. Watch everything full length. Join us in Discord and have a chat with us there about what this season meant to you. How did you interpret it? Did you have any different takes than I did? That's fine. I'd love to hear them. And yeah, stick around later in December. We've got season 5 of The Expanse coming. You'll see me back on YouTube for that. And for those of you who can't possibly wait for December because you just love my reactions so much, and you like Battlestar Galactica, come over to Patreon because we're going to carry on our journey. We're at season 2 now, coming up to the end of season 2. Yeah, it's been a wild ride. Thanks for sharing it with me, and until the next time, bye-bye.
Thank you for being a friend.